we had let it get ahead of us.
The store got ahead of us. If we don't stay on top of the store, it will work us instead of us working it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the E-Com Growth Show.
Do I say hi now or do I wait? I'm pretty much brain fried at this point.
Let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the E-Com Growth Show. Today I'm super excited because we have Leann and Nicole, the Soul Sisters, on with us. And I'm not going to give too much away in the intro, but long story short, these guys own a 10,000 square foot shoe store next to a bunch of cows, and believe it or not, they're blowing up online, which is super cool. So we're going to hear a little bit from them about their story of getting started, and some of the mistakes they've maybe come across, and some of the things that you should be doing, and some things that can be really encouraging for you in your journey. Welcome to the show, you guys. How are you doing?
Great.
We are good. Thanks for having us.
We are so excited just to share a part of our journey, just to see if it helps anybody else out there to just do it.
That is awesome.
Leann, tell them how we got started.
Hey, before we jump into that, I think we'd be doing our audience a disservice if they didn't hear your guys' introduction that we just heard. Come on, we got to hear it. We got to hear it live.
Okay, so it goes like this. Hi, I'm Leann.
And I'm Nicole.
And we are the Soul Sisters.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's so good, guys. I love that. And yeah, if you wouldn't mind just jumping into how did you guys get started?
So, gosh, I guess about almost going on 7 years ago, I kind of fell in our lap. The store kind of fell in our lap. I worked for the previous owner as her accountant, and then for about 4 years, and then went home after I had my first child, be a stay-at-home mom. Nicole was home.
I was a school teacher.
Yeah, she was a school teacher, and then came home for a stay-at-home mom, and just kind of came in contact with each other through ministry.
Yeah, we go to church together. My husband's a senior pastor, and Leann's does the music, and we have 3 campuses, so we literally do life together.
All the time.
All the time.
That's
and the
awesome.
number one question is, are we sisters? Are we real sisters? No. We're really not real sisters.
Yeah, we're not related at all. But so just became really good friends, and like real early into our friendship, we just were like, let's open a store. Let's buy a little boutique. Is what we thought, a little boutique, and open a store together. And the previous owner decided to sell out, and Nicole, one Wednesday night at church, she was like, hey, the watermelon patch, which is what it was called, is selling. We should buy it. And I'm like, you're crazy. It's like huge.
Yeah.
And so it just from there really just kind of fell in our lap.
The pieces fit together. A lot of door closed, but we just knew, we put God in the center, and we just knew right on that it was just meant to be. So we just kept pushing and reopening doors and closing doors that didn't need to be, and it just worked out phenomenally.
So I have a question. So when you guys did this, you were already pretty busy, like obviously doing ministry together in an organization with 3 campuses. Were you guys, you already had families and children as well?
Yeah.
Wow.
Small family. Well, I had only, I guess, 2. I had 2 kids at that time.
You had 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I only had 2 kids.
Wow.
At that time.
5.
I have 5 now.
5 kids.
Dang, that's awesome.
So yeah, small families, but we knew nothing about retail really.
No, but I'm telling you, you just get out there and you figure it out. And if you have grace for yourself and laugh at yourself, the mistakes will hit you hard some, but we have learned to take them and make it improve who we are in our thinking process. We had to be rewired in a lot of areas. Even in our walk in life, we had to be rewired, and we need help, a lot of help. That's why we called you guys. But also like in our personal lives, like hiring a full-time like a nanny, or and even at church, so we can do our responsibilities there. But it's so possible, and we've been able to work it out, and it's been a blessing. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick, I just wanted to reflect back at you and make this apparent to the audience that I think a lot of people, they think they're already too far in life to start a business, to really grow the business of their dreams, and especially if they're already involved in other areas, maybe have families, children. But you guys were just so bold about doing it, And even just like real upfront about knowing probably can't do it alone, which is also another thing that comes up in a lot of these calls, is realizing that to do something awesome, like it takes a community, right? And so you guys were not shy about bringing that community around you. And anyways, just wanted to point that out because I think it can be encouraging to people who are feeling like they're beyond the time when they should be starting a business. Because right now on social media, it's like, you know, all the young kids, 18 and 20-year-olds starting a e-com store. But you guys obviously are doing really, really well. So sorry, continue on with the story.
No, a lot of times when we're faced with a new growth time, we ask who in the world's gonna help us. But it's in the who that we turn into the Lord, and usually He places somebody right there through the process. And there's a lot of training, but with every growth step, there's been resources presented in front of us to grasp onto. To recognize that's the key, though. Yeah. Sure.
That's so good, guys. And I think a lot of people, even in like what I'd call the secular world, or people that don't necessarily believe in God, maybe they'll believe in the universe, but I think it's the idea of faith for things to be laid out in front of you, for resources to come in, and even having that mindset opens up so much opportunity in business, and then recognizing when that's dropped in front of you and actually grasping onto it and taking action. I think, though, just the belief that that's going to happen, solutions are going to come as I grow, the right people are coming into my business. That's so important. And I love just your guys' story with that and how it has helped you guys grow and just opened you guys up to potentially opportunities that you didn't even know existed, which leaves me to a question. When that kind of fell in your lap, you guys bought that boutique. Was it already pretty big revenue-wise, successful? Was there already online channels? Was all that going on? I guess I want to know what was going on when you bought it in the business, and then how it's kind of morphed over the years.
So we actually had to rebrand the store, and we talked about keeping the old name because it was so established. So if you buy an established store, there's a jeopardy of whether to change the name or rebrand it with a new fresh name, because of the watermelon patch has been here for years and years and years. But we found, due to on the back side, like through brands and gaining new brands, that it was important to rebrand and get a new name because of the previous owner. So we decided to rebrand and give it a new name that represented who we are, give it a fresh intake. But that was a challenge. We're still called the old name, and we're okay with it because we're proud of the old store too.
Yeah.
So, but for your question too, so it was established. It had been here for 20 plus years. Started out as a produce store stand, real small. Then Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, and it hit us pretty good, even though we're pretty far inland. But she gradually started bringing in flip-flops because we're also right on the Okatoma River. So we have we're a big canoeing destination. Nice. And it kind of just gradually turned into a shoe store. And then after it turned into a shoe store, she ended up opening 7 stores total at the same time. All the other stores were boutique, small shopping center boutique stores. But then right before she closed, she ended up gradually closing off a little shopping center store, and then it was just this main location. And it had just really, once we got it, by the time we got it, it was empty. She had nothing else, no inventory, it had really went down. And so we kind of had to start over. It had a name, it was established, but it kind of had gotten a bad name by the end, honestly.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, which presents a lot of challenges, but from my perspective, I'm so glad you guys rebranded. I love your guys' new name and branded stuff, and I hear the watermelon patch, and it doesn't have the same pizzazz to me.
It sounds like a fruit stand, which is what it started out as. So
totally, that's cool.
We have a huge watermelon out on the highway.
Oh, really?
That's
we
kept
funny.
The watermelon.
You can sit in it, and it's one of the best parts of the store because returning families take pictures in it on the way to the beach. But we have a huge watermelon. A lot of people are like, what's the watermelon for? You got watermelon in here? No.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you guys essentially had to turn the whole business around, bring in all new products, set up online channels, all of that?
Yes. Yeah.
Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, was that hard?
So the previous owner did not do online at all before us. So that was a new thing. And then we didn't really in the beginning either. Like we first bought into it, and even like our first point of sale that we went into, it was like, this is not equipped for e-commerce. We're like, that's okay, because we're not doing it. We're not going to do that. You know, we're not. And so we started out real slow in that area. But yeah, we
kind of, you know, one thing we have learned is like to grow with the times in the store. So, you know, COVID hit and we had to change our POS system, and that was a big monkey. And that opened the opportunity to go e-commerce. And we've seen that since our location, we knew our store, a lot of our shoppers were from like Arkansas and Texas, and we couldn't continue to get that returning shopper. So that geared us towards moving more towards the website, and even doing, you know, the live shows, which have been a little bit more difficult for us. And we hit the e-commerce, and so we're still getting that returning customer, and they're coming more like family, and we're recognizing the names that hit, and it's really been beneficial for the rebranding process. So
that's cool, because there's so many brick and mortar stores that want to know how to make that transition to online and even do both really well. So I think it's cool that you guys are a good example of that. What percentage of sales come from online now as opposed to your brick and mortar? Do you guys know?
We're still probably only about 10%, maybe 10%, maybe a little bit less than that in online. I mean, our brick and mortar still way outdoes the e-commerce side of things, but it is growing, and it's, I would just say for those that do have that brick and mortar store, like we were real nervous about it. COVID, like she said, kind of made us, it kind of makes everybody that's in business. You're going to have to figure out how to do something when the whole state shuts down. But
we have all our inventory on the floor. Like we don't have a warehouse, so it's all out there. So it's being shopped like right now. So we have to stay on our toes to pull, like right when it comes up. Yeah. So I would say don't be afraid too if you don't have a stockpile. We're able to function 10,000 square foot of shop. We hadn't had many issues.
No, every now and then.
Every now we have like a shoe stolen or whatever that got purchased online, but it hadn't been a bad issue.
But I would say, like, even just start out slow, like with it. You know, like if you're going to go into e-commerce and you're real nervous about it, you don't have to put your whole store, like we don't, and we have most of our stuff online now, but we don't have everything. And it's okay if you have 10 of your products instead of 100 of your products, you know.
That's really good advice. Just start off slow with maybe your top sellers, what you know works well, and then just slowly build from there.
So let me ask this question. How many years in are you guys, and what has been your biggest learning lesson?
So we are about 6.5. We opened in April of 15.
Okay.
So we're about 6.5 years in. So biggest learning lesson is, of course, financial.
Numbers are so important.
So like I said, I have an accounting background. Like I have a master's in accounting. I'm numbers oriented. I love it. Like it's what makes me tick. Like I love to match things and to, but the store can really consume you, and at times, the busyness of it can consume you. Life can consume you, and if you're not numbers oriented, it really probably can consume you. And so we've had a couple of learning moments where it's been like, oh no. I can remember one where we came in, and it probably had been a little bit since I had balanced some stuff, and I was like, I know we're probably getting close. I need to balance all, our checking account. Let's look at everything. And Nicole came in the office, and I was like, shut the door.
She never shut the door.
Yeah, she sat down. She's like, what is it? We have $1,000 in the bank account. We got so low, and we got about $15,000 in bills due next week.
Oh man.
And so we were both like literally probably in tears, just didn't know. We had let it get ahead of us.
The store got ahead of us. If we don't stay on top of the store, it will work us instead of us working it.
Yeah.
And this was one of the cases.
And so that was one of the cases. And so that was the weekend that we learned about cash flow.
Yeah.
And how sometimes you just got to have cash flow. Sometimes it's not necessarily about making money. It's just about getting some cash flow to pay the bills. Should not be your goal most of the time. You're not going to be staying business long that way. But that weekend it was, and
we learned a lot.
We did.
We learned how to create cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. We was like, okay, we got to have a sale. We've got to have this much money by Monday morning. And man, the Lord is so good.
He made it to a T. I'm talking about.
We were like in cents of what we needed.
It was like, we couldn't make that up. I think there's a difference between like physical numbers and God numbers. God is all about numbers, and he works with the impossible.
Yeah.
And he made those impossible numbers match. And so like we were like, we see you different, God. He worked so good.
But he taught us in that moment, like she said, we got to stay ahead of it. And there's been moments since then too that we haven't got hit that bad. Since then, we've learned to not go that bad. But
we've had impossible numbers with God's numbers. Yeah. And just to be a good steward, we learned about stewardship and the responsibility of the store.
Yeah.
Like we said, it can get ahead. The store can get ahead of you, and if you're not stewarding it and directing it, other people would direct it for you. And it's important to keep the vibe correct and in line. And so, it's a constant cap, like. Where are you? Where are you? How's our numbers? It's just a balance we've had to learn to. And we've learned to feed off of each other and read each other's eyeballs if we're not right. So.
Yeah, that's actually, I was going to ask you guys about your partnership, because we get this question a lot of like, how do you guys make a partnership work, like being best friends? And, Robbie and I have some keys that we'll dive into occasionally, but I was curious for you guys, what's been the thing that's kept your guys' partnership working well and successful?
I think it's just, of course, the number one is just the Lord is just in it. But just open communication. And we've had our moments. Like there's some times where we just gotta like separate for a little bit. You just gotta.
We've learned there's boundaries, personal time.
Yeah.
But there's some moments where you just gotta sit down and kind of hash it out. Like, what are you feeling right now? Like I can tell something's wrong. I can tell something's not good between us. We had one of those a couple months ago. Like it was just kind of a sit down and feel it out. Like life is a roller coaster all the time. Just in your own personal life and your own personal families. We do so much together that just even outside of the store that you really have to keep a check on that.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's super good, guys. That's
just,
what. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, always tell the truth and what's going on, and not sit and fester on it, because your mind can create scenarios that didn't even exist.
Yeah, that's so good. That's like our number one advice too, when people ask, is just open communication and even diving in deeper than the surface level sometimes, and being investigative and just getting to the root of what's actually happening is so important, I think, to make any partnership work. And we even do that with our leadership team as well, of just making sure we all have open communication. If something bothers someone, don't let it fester, bring that up right away, and just get back on the same page. So I love that. Any other questions from you, Robert?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the best way to word it. But essentially, and I'll just take a stab at it, and if it doesn't come out right, then I'll try again. But it sounds like one of your biggest advantages, so even the way you defined the success of your partnership, but also the success of your store, and also the direction you take, sounds like at the core of it is a big component of faith, and just having something to lean on that's in some ways unconventional. And I just wanted to point that out, and I'm trying to figure out the question. And I guess the question would be is like for someone who maybe doesn't have that component, because for you guys, like if I'm looking at it from a business perspective, you guys would describe it as a strategic advantage to, being able to make the right decisions, being able to maintain cash flow, being able to maintain a relationship. And so for someone who maybe doesn't have a component of faith or something to really be able to trust that when things are hard, the solutions will come, the right people will surround you. I guess in that case, like, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them? If that is a true, and again, if that is a true building block of what you guys do.
Yeah, I firmly believe that that's our foundation. We have a big New Year's Day sale, and we anoint our doors, our threshold, and we want it to be an encounter. And we pray over our employees, but we serve a simple God. And just knowing, I would tell someone that we serve a simple God who already knows your issues, and to lean and press into Him, and in the unknowing, He will show you the light. And to trust your gut. We have a Holy Spirit man that lives inside of us, and that Holy Spirit man helps guides us. And it's almost like a feeling, but it's a pressing of how to know what steps to take, if that makes sense. So take baby steps into it, and pray into it. We always pray, and know that God works in the impossible situations, and we've been in a lot of those, and He turns them into a victorious situation. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
Like, there's no right or wrong way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
There's no right or wrong way.
And I love, like that's your guys' X factor. And I love so much that you guys are just bold about it. And I think a lot of people would be even nervous in the way that they would describe it, but you guys are just super bold about it, and you stand behind your truth. And I think that's super, super cool. And so I know it's speaking to somebody definitely listening right now. And if it's not speaking to somebody, maybe it's an opportunity for them to reevaluate the way they think about things. So it's super cool. And I just really appreciate your guys' transparency and your boldness with it. Because I think in some ways it could even be controversial. Some people might even be offended by it.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that you guys stand there boldly.
Yeah, for sure.
That's good. That's some good stuff.
That's the good.
Cool. Well, normally we would end with like what is your greatest advice, but I feel like that's a pretty big piece of advice. Is there anything like maybe a secondary piece of advice to that you would give somebody to encourage them in their e-commerce journey?
I would say be aware of your surroundings. I think your surroundings is key, in which way your business should go, like what's selling, what's not. Is your employees putting off the right vibe for the type of environment you want to create? And not being so focused on social media and having your face down in the phone. Relationships are key here, and speaking face to face and eye to eye, and just be aware. To be aware of everything, your numbers, like we just said, and giving back. We give back with our money. The Lord's blessed us financially, and we want to give, but just be aware.
Yeah. And the other thing that we kind of talked about before was just to keep changing with the times are changing. And you can't stay in the old. We talked about earlier about the cash flow. Sometimes you just got to create some cash flow and get rid of that stuff because it's old and you don't need to sit on it. I know you're not going to make any money on it, but don't hold it.
Don't hold it.
Get rid of it and get the new stuff. Keep moving forward.
Floor space is important.
Keep moving forward.
That's awesome. And to me, that really speaks to just an awesome culture that you guys have in everything you do.
Yeah.
And that's super cool that you guys are able to facilitate it and set priorities there. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
I don't have anything to add, Rob.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on. Listeners, thank you for joining us on this wonderful journey. I hope you guys found some value. And if you did, please feel free to share this if it felt encouraging. Give it a review, do all those things so that the word can get out. And until next time, we will catch you guys later.
Peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.